Hello! This is an assessment feedback video for Year 7. We're going to be talking about how to break up evidence into chunks. Something we noticed that a lot of students did on question 8, which, just to remind you, if you've forgotten, question 8 is this one. How does Gawain show he is brave in this poem? Use evidence, which is copying or quoting from the text, from the poem and explain, in your own words, what it means. So for question 8, something a lot of students did is they copied plenty of evidence, but they copied it in one big chunk. And then they kind of ran out of things to say about it, so they didn't manage to earn enough marks, even though they had found the evidence that they needed. So we're going to practice in this video how to take big chunks of evidence and break it into smaller bits, and then try and say something about each bit. So I just read the question, and it was about how Gawain is brave. And a section that lots of people talked about is this bit in the poem towards the end. "No," said good Gawain, "by my life-giving God, I won't gripe or begrudge the grimness to come. So keep to one stroke, and I'll stand stock still, won't whisper a word of unwillingness, or one complaint." He bowed to take the blade, and bared his neck and nape, but loath to look afraid, he feigned a fearless state. So all of this information right here in the poem, all of this text, is about Gawain and his attempt to be brave. So technically all of this is evidence, but I don't want to copy out that much. I need to just pick the best bits. And let's go back to the exam paper again. This question is worth 8 marks, so I can either kind of have 3 or 4 bits of evidence, depending on how much I'm going to have to say about each one. So I don't need to copy all of this. I just need to choose 3 or 4 bits that are important. So what I like to do is, before I begin copying the evidence onto the exam paper, just underline the bits that I want to talk about. Sometimes I might only talk about one particular word. So I'm going to reread this. As I go, I'm just going to underline what I think are the 3 or 4 most important things in the evidence that I can then use in shorter bits. "No," said good Gawain, "by my life-giving God, I won't gripe or begrudge the grimness to come." That's quite a good line. And a line is about the most you really want to take at one time, especially at this age, because otherwise you're going to be a bit overwhelmed. But that's a good line, so I'm going to take that one. So keep to one stroke, and I'll stand stock still. I could talk about that one. Won't whisper a word of unwillingness or one complaint. So I could do that. Won't whisper a word of unwillingness. He bowed to take the blade and bared his neck and nape, but loath to look afraid, he feigned a fearless state. Now, these 2 lines are a bit shorter. I could take them both together, but I've already got quite a bit of evidence up here. I'm going to keep it really short. So I'm just going to take this bit. He feigned a fearless state. So now I have 4 bits of evidence I can talk about. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this doesn't mean these are the only 4 bits of evidence I could talk about. It just means that these are the 4 bits I've chosen to talk about in this particular question. And if I copy each one, that's probably going to be a mark if I can also have something to say in my explanation about each one. And if I have great explanations, I might only need 3. So it kind of depends on that balance between how much you copy, how much evidence you take, and how much you think you're going to have to say. Because sometimes the easiest way to earn marks just to keep pushing your explanations, and that's something we'll practice in another video. Okay, so for each of these, I now need to think about what am I going to say about each of them. So for this one, I won't gripe or begrudge the grimness to come. I can show that that means he will not hold the Green Knight's actions against him. I'll stand stock still. That means he's going to be calm. He's not going to whisper a word of unwillingness. So I can say he's going to be quiet. Right? And then for this one, he feigned a fearless state. I picked this one on purpose because lots of people misunderstood this line. Feigned, I have the number 7 there, so I can check what it means because that's quite an advanced word. And I'll just dip the camera a teeny bit. There we go. I can see that feigned in this context means faked. he faked a fearless state. So if you are faking being fearless, you are actually afraid. So a lot of people got confused about this one and thought that he wasn't afraid. But the truth is, Gawain is afraid, and we hear that up above. Loath to look afraid, and loath down here means unwilling. He doesn't want to look that way, even though that's actually how he feels. So just make sure if you're going to comment on this, you've double-checked that you know what the words mean, and you've used all these vocabulary tools we've given you. So I'm going to say for this one, it means he pretends to be brave, even though he is scared. Okay. So this is a plan that I've done. And instead of just panicking and thinking, all right, well, I know the answer is somewhere in this big chunk at the end, I thought about which particular bits do I want to talk about in here. One of the other great things about breaking up your evidence into shorter chunks is you can ignore some of the ones that you don't feel that confident with. So if you read this last line and you still weren't sure what feigned meant or how it worked, how the line with alignment overall, you could just not talk about that one, but choose a different one. Maybe instead of that one, you're going to choose bared his neck and nape and talk about how even though he's scared, he is getting ready for this really big dramatic beheading that's supposed to happen. So the nice thing about kind of taking your time and thinking through which bits you're going to use is that you can discard or get rid of the ones that you think, I'm not too sure about that one. I feel a bit more confident with this one. And that's going to help you improve your score on that question. Okay, so I've got all these pieces, and now what I would have to do is combine them to answer the question on my exam paper. But I've really got all the ingredients there that I need for my answer. The last thing I want to say, if you copy too much evidence in one go, what it looks like to the teacher or the person marking your assessment is that you're not really sure what the answer is. It often looks like you know the answer's in there somewhere, but you don't know exactly which bit is the correct answer. So you can avoid that by making sure that you choose really carefully exactly what words and what phrases you're going to talk about. And like I said, a good rule of thumb is to talk about, at most, about one sentence or one line. For now, as you get older and more experienced, you might have a few longer quotes, but even students at A-level, I still encourage them to keep their evidence really short and crisp. It shows you know what you're talking about. Good luck!